Warning, I spoiled the first episode of Masters of the Universe Revelation in this video. While I try to avoid spoilers in my reviews, the events of the first episode are so shocking yet important to the rest of the season's plot that I need to discuss them here. Additionally, I vaguely detail some plot elements that occur later on in the series, and while I try and tippy-toe around the specifics of these details, what I say may still constitute as a spoiler. So with that, you have been warned. I have no nostalgic or emotional connection to He-Man or the Masters of the Universe franchise. The show came out in the 80s before my time. I'm a 90s child by trade after all, and this means I never got to see even an episode of the original glorified cartoon toy commercial that was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and that my only connection to this series is through pop culture osmosis. I only know He-Man from references to the cartoons and memes. Oh, the memes. And that's it. And while I inevitably did watch the really good Netflix She-Ra reboot, I was never familiar with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe to begin with. I was never grounded in it. This is why I'm shocked to say that the newly released Masters of the Universe Revelation is incredibly good. Like, even though my knowledge of the original series is minimal, I still thoroughly enjoyed this Netflix show. I liked it even though it's a loving fan letter to the original show from the mind of Kevin Smith. I was thoroughly enthralled by it even though it acts as a sequel to the original series, a show that I have never seen before. It is quite good, even if the usual pissing and moaning brigade tries to lie and claim otherwise, and with that, I easily recommend it. It is a good time. Masters of the Universe Revelation's positive qualities start with its story, which takes place on the planet of Eternia. On Eternia, Prince Adam, who secretly uses a magic sword that transforms himself into the superpowered chiseled brick shithouse known as He-Man, battles the evil villain Skeletor in epic conflict. A type of conflict that He-Man and his crew normally come out on top of. But the beginning of Masters of the Universe Revelation has other plans. See, Skeletor's forces are defeated, no change there, but in this battle both He-Man and Skeletor are killed, and nearly all the magic in the world vanishes as a result, which is a grim reality for a world that was once lush with it. It's like a world without internet. It's a world that sucks. Things are worse for the Royal Guardswoman Teela, a capable woman in her own right, who was Adam's best friend and takes Adam's death hard, especially considering she never knew Adam's true identity as He-Man, something that she really takes offense to. And as a result, Teela spitefully abandons her duty as a royal guard, gets a badass queer haircut, and spends the next few years hating magic and the fact that her best friend didn't care to tell her his big muscular secret. She is rightfully resentful. Fate has other plans for Teela though. After running into Evil Lyn, the aptly named evil witch who worked for Skeletor, Teela learns that the absence of magic is slowly but surely killing the planet of Eternia itself. And with that, Teela and Evil Lyn formulate a plan to restore all the magic in Eternia and possibly save the universe, because you would better believe the stakes are higher than high on fire. The story is very good, mostly because the narrative is a subversive slice of genre fiction. After all, He-Man, the main character of the series, dies in the first episode, and the narrative primarily follows Teela, who is normally a side character, as she goes on the most meaningful arc in the show, which is pretty damn bold from a narrative standpoint, and one that definitely caused an uproar in the Masters of the Universe fandom, because, you know, they killed He-Man and made Teela the main character. And admittedly, I get why some fans might be jaded by this narrative decision, though the more misogynistic turdlings can take a hike, but the story does stand up on its own merits, and Teela is a great character in her own right. She portrays a wide range of emotions. She's tough, but also has internal vulnerabilities regarding how she still holds Adam's death and his lies against her former best friend. And with that, Teela goes on a grand quest with a lot of narrative upswing, where she must let go of her past heartbreaks in order to grow as a person. She must go on both a figurative and a literal journey so that she can lose her past baggage, just like American Airlines. The arcs of the supporting characters enhance the story as well. In fact, they are deep, subvert expectations, and are unpredictable as mainstay characters like Orko and Man-at-Arms grapple with tumultuous feelings like grief, loss, and self-worth. And even the character of Evil Lyn, named as such because she is both evil and a Lyn, gets some great development in screen time via a sympathetic villain arc, which is very befitting for this franchise because even quote-unquote bad and troubled people are still capable of being good. which is a nice message. Additionally, Masters of the Universe Revelations voice cast further sell the story. In fact, there are some solid names here, seeing as Sarah Michelle Gellar's Teela and Lena Headey's Evelyn are especially good, but it is Mark Hamill's Skeletor that really steals the show. I mean, we all know Mark Hamill knows how to voice a skeevy villain, but his performance as Skeletor is truly the perfect embodiment of that, and as a result, Hamill is really damn good here. He's clearly having a lot of fun, and that fun is infectious. The over-the-top action is awesome as well. The animation is detailed and crisp, and allows all the cool fight scenes and fantastical battles to really be a step above most other animated shows. Whether He-Man is ramming baddies across the battlefield, or Evelyn is doing some otherworldly magic, the combat sequences are really engaging and truly exhilarating in a way that truly befits the legacy of this beloved show. It is a blast. With all that being said though, Masters of the Universe Revelation does have a few imperfections. For one thing, the show walks back one of its bolder plot elements in the second half of the series. In fact, some character deaths are more or less undone in the show's second half, and while some of these returns make sense and play out in the narrative in an ultimately satisfying way, one character's return honestly irked me, mostly because it was one of the earlier deaths that had a lot of narrative and thematic weight that allowed the show to really subvert expectations. And even though I understand that this is ultimately a show for both children and adults who still enjoy shows that are made for children, the show, in this one instance, feels as if it's reneging on its earlier promise to be a deeper narrative and thematic show that tackles tough subject matter that most other animated shows don't touch. And as a result, this plot thread just does not land as well as the others in this show, sadly. It settles for being pretty good, whereas the rest of the show is great. Another issue comes with the dialogue, mostly because there are certainly some groan-inducing one-liners, like bad enough where even I, the queen of shitty wordplay, would have second thoughts. Sure, there are some good lines, like when the side character Fisto makes a fisting joke. Yes, really, it's hilarious. But most lines didn't cause me to laugh. If anything, they caused me to sigh. And while I get that the show is being true to its cornball roots here, it doesn't change the fact that these are DeKalb, Illinois levels of corny lines, and they just often don't land, sadly. Still, Masters of the Universe Revelations is a fun, enjoyable, and objectively good show. It has some terrific character arcs, subversive plot reveals, awesome animation and action, and has a stellar voice cast. But best of all, and I mean this with 100% sincerity, you can tell that showrunner Kevin Smith really cared when making this project. After all, you can't be a subversive show if you don't know or understand the core of what you're subverting. And Smith clearly wanted to make a Masters of the Universe story that is both true to the style of the older show, while also being new and unique on its own merits. And while sure, the usual reactionary suspects piss and moan about this show because they believe it's a betrayal to the source material and that it has feminist themes that ruin it or whatever, the show is still undeniably good. Masters of the Universe Revelations just stands up on its own merits as a show with grand character arcs, cool action, and plot threads that subvert expectations, and in that regard, it is truly revelatory. And with that, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like rating, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a comment telling me what you think of Masters of the Universe Revelation. Also, please consider checking out my Patreon page. The link is in the description. And speaking of Patreon, I just want to thank my patrons, particularly my high tier ones in David, Samantha Devlin, Mom, and Morgan. Thank you so much for supporting what I do. Love y'all.